Good evening, everyone. Our apologies for starting the meeting late. Welcome to the Finance Meeting Committee of the Whole for April 25th, 2023. Calling the meeting to order. We have no speakers or comments tonight regarding this meeting. We do have a review and acceptance of the minutes from the February 14th, 2023 Finance Committee of the Whole. Can I get a motion?
Second.
Motioned by President Elliott, seconded by Commissioner Simmons. All those in favor? Aye. We have a very short agenda tonight. We are still having budget deliberations. So very quickly for the listening audience, we're going to have a review of our claims audit report with Naraki Smith, LLP. And then we will have a presentation from our CFO, Dr. Shanfar. He will come up and go over the unaudited April 2023 financial reports and the quarterly change order report. And then there's a financial resolution review process for the resolutions that will come before the board in May 2023 board business meeting. And then finally, we'll wrap up tonight with a budget discussion. And then we have one resolution in regards to student suspensions appeals. There is another report here called the Quarterly 3 Medicaid Compliance Report. That report will not be reported out, but it is there for all commissioners to review. And if you have any questions in regards to the Medicaid Compliance Quarter 3 report, please feel free to submit those questions to the board question log. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Naraki Smith to get the presentation that they have prepared for us tonight started. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Thanks for having us. Nice to see everyone. And thanks again for getting us on your agenda to report on the claims audit report through March of 2023. And I'm Darren Acabelli. I'm one of the partners at Naraki Smith, and Rich O'Toole is one of our managers at the firm who handles the day-to-day of the Rochester account. So we'll let Rich walk us through the report, and we'll field any questions that you might have. But at any point in time, feel free to ask as we're speaking. That's fine.
Perfect. So again, thank you for having us. We are here to present our audit for March 1st, 2023 through March 31st, 2023. We've audited 3,693 claims against the district with approximately $62 million. We've made inquiries or observations into 570 claims, approximately $6.6 million, and total outstanding for the month of March is 122 claims at approximately $89,000. Again, we audit the 4 major systems that the district has. So PeopleSoft, Concur Invoices, Concur Expenses, as well as P-card transactions. And as you can see in the table on this page of the report, this is kind of the breakdown of where the total transactions, how those apply to each of the different systems, as well as the dollar value of those transactions and the inquiries made within those. I would point you to the exhibits for more detail in regards to the various types of inquiries that we've made on the claims, and that is attached to this report. Exhibit 1 would be July through December, and Exhibit 2 would cover the second half of the year, January through June. Any questions on our report or any of the inquiries?
There's none that I see at this time. Thank you.
I have one, Vice President.
Oh, Commissioner Patterson has a question.
Yes.
What is the time frame again for these investigations? or claims rather, you said 3,693 claims against the district. What's the time frame? I'm looking for that on the report. I can't see it.
So the report is for the month of March.
Right, but these claims, is it for a 1-year period, a 2-year period?
That is for your actual month. So as your claims auditor, we're auditing your accounts payable checks and vouchers before they leave the district. So we're auditing them real time. That's the requirement. And so these are all the claims that were presented to be paid by the district for the month of March. So it's real time auditing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And just for especially our listening audience, can you just clarify what some of these transactions might look like a credit card transaction that was used by a department, and they submit the reimbursement and so forth?
Sure. So like you've already indicated, so a P card transaction is it could be two different things. It could be a specific department is assigned a procurement card, and that is a means of payment for certain types of expenses that they may incur throughout the course of a school year. And they use that card, and those individuals submit a expense reimbursement with the supporting documentation for that. On the procurement, the P card side of things, there's also the travel card. So the district does have a travel card for employees to utilize when they're booking, so that they can take advantage of discount rates as well as not be charged tax. And then those are submitted through an expense process as well. Concur expenses is strictly employee reimbursable expenses. So if you have employees that are shared between buildings, they get mileage between those buildings. Those are the types of things that would come up in there, as well as any travel that an employee does on behalf of the district. They are entitled to reimbursement for any expenses incurred during that time. And that would be submitted through the Concur expense side of things. PeopleSoft and Concur invoices are really just your everyday expenses that are incurred by the district, whether it be for special education purposes, paying tuition for out-of-district tuition, any operating expenses. Payroll also goes through these systems as well. So those are the types of expenses there as well.
Thank you. I just think it's important for the clarity, because I know the number seems large for the month, but I feel like it's a constant movement of expenditures that occur. And yeah, so thank you.
You're welcome. Well, thanks for having us. If there's other questions at any point in time, you can certainly contact us directly or have them make their way to us, and we're happy to meet with you and respond to any future questions before we see you again at the next meeting.
Appreciate it. Are there any further additional questions from any of the commissioners? Okay. All right. Thank you so much. You gentlemen have a wonderful night and nice background. Very artistic.
Thank you so much. Have a great night, and nice to see everybody. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Up next is our CFO, Sean Barr, who's going to come up and just do a brief review and discussion of the financial reports unaudited for 2023 April.
Good evening. Okay. So this is April report, but it's got March data through March 31st. And starting on the first page, you'll see a summary of our cash. So as of March 31st, we had $331 million. And previously, in previous months, we had talked about our low point of cash, which happens in the third week of January. This is actually our high point of cash, which is good, $331 million. It's $46 million more than the same point last year. So our financial health continues to get stronger. And if you go to page 2, and this is where we have some detail on some changes in our revenue estimates, but you'll see a grant under a special aid fund, OTDA, SNAP grant. And so what that is this is through OASIS, and they're providing support and educational services to people who are SNAP recipients, with the goal of getting employment and improving their skills. So it's in line with what OASIS does with adult education. It happens to be a focus grant for SNAP participants. If you go down to the middle of that page 2, and you'll see variances to difference from adopted to actual, and you'll see that through March we are in the general fund, we're short $1,172,000 versus the budgeted revenue. That's 0.1%. So that's very good. So we're right in line with where we need to be on the revenue side. With the general fund, special aid fund is significantly higher, and it reflects that we get grants during the year. We adopt the budget, and then as grants come in, they get added during the year. So that's good. We continue to get more grants. And then the school services fund, we're to the good of 0.8%. So overall, our estimate of where we're going to be revenue-wise is about $9 million more than the combined of those three funds, which is 0.9%. So again, that is good. So we're good on the revenue side. If you go down to the bottom of page 2 under D, you'll see that how we have our budget and our encumbrances, expenditures today, and how much we have available. So as of March 31st, we had $242 million unencumbered in the current year general fund budget, and that's 29%. So we're three quarters of the way through the fiscal year. So there's 25% of the fiscal year remaining, and we had 29% of expenditures available. So that again is good, that we're on the positive side of that. In other words, we're not going to overexpend the budget. So revenue is good, we're good, expense is good. So everything is flowing well budgetarily in this current fiscal year. If you go to page 3, and now we're into the federal stimulus funds, and you'll look at a summary here, and you'll see available appropriations for CRISA, $28 million. So we have a plan on how to expend those remaining funds. So we will be doing that, and so all those funds will be expended. While the grant officially ends September 30th, we've established an internal cutoff of June 30th, and that's to allow us time to actually close out, process all the transactions, prepare the report in time to submit the final report. If you go one column over to ARP funds, you can see that there's $125 million, which is a fair amount still remaining. In the budget document that we're dealing with, Next week, we'll be in the budget deliberations. We'll cover the tab for the art budget. So the budget that we have available is in that. I'm sure we'll be talking about that next week, of what our plan is to spend that money in the 23-24 fiscal year. If you go down to the bottom of page 3, you'll see the kind of summary of our capital, and the balances remaining, about $12 million in cash capital. We spent in the month of March $917,000 in that account, and with the bond funding, we have $18.8 million remaining, and we spent $6.2 million in the month of March. You go to page 4, you'll see highlight some projects here that are going on, and I'll just mention 2 of them. The last 2 listed here, these are where we're replacing scanners and also working with metal detectors and additional security support. So we continue to invest in ongoing investment into security. We've been doing that. We're going to continue to do that. And I believe later on this week, the superintendent will be talking to you about other things that we would like to do as well. And the last item is the food service. Food service continues to be strong financially. So everything is looking good there as far as revenue, expenditures, and the food service program is good. And we continue to, in the budget for 23-24, we continue the additional investment in food service that started with this year's budget. It's continuing to next year as well.
I'll open up the floor for any questions. Commissioner Adams?
Page 2. I really couldn't hear that good when you was explaining about the $500,000, basically $500,000. It's a new grant.
Yes, yeah.
Could you break that down a little bit for
Yeah,
me?
so this is a grant that Oasis had applied for and received. Actually, we received it a while ago. It's just getting set up. And this is to provide adult education services to people who are SNAP recipients. So it's trying to provide services to people to improve their skill sets for employment purposes.
So that's good enough. I didn't hear Oasis at
Yeah,
first when
yeah,
you said
yeah.
SNAP benefits. And
Yeah.
I was like curious. Oh, I know about Oasis. all right.
Yeah. So it's good. I mean, it's right in line with what Oasis does with adult education. It's a targeted market in this case for the grant, but it's perfectly in line of all their goals and objectives. So it's a good match.
Yeah.
I just want to add, too, that Oasis, from the state's perspective and even the county, they are a vocational education approved activity for recipients who get social services, but also a workforce development site. So I'm pretty sure that that's partly why they received it. Leah, the new director there, most likely applied, and they are constantly applying for funding to do workforce development and vocational education for our families who live in the community. And Oasis is a wonderful program, so anyone listening who needs workforce or vocational, please hit them up because it is a free program and lots of opportunities to gain new skills through that program. Any other questions? President Elliott?
Thank you, Vice President LeBron. Just in terms of the Curson ARP funding, so we have remaining for the cursor, 49, almost 50 million. Is that what I'm interpreting here?
No, it's the line below it, 28.4 million. So what we had,
Okay.
we were budgeted 87.5 million. We have encumbrances money that we've encumbered to spend through purchase orders, 9.4 million, or purchase orders contracts. We have expended to date 49.7 million.
Okay.
So the balance available and unencumbered right now is the 28.4.
All right, so I was a little confused, because why does that say revenue summary as opposed to expenditure summary?
Well,
So that's probably why I got a little
yeah.
confused. So there's
Yeah.
28, million left
Yeah,
for expenditures.
yeah,
And then for ARP, we have available 125
right.
million. We have to spend this money by when?
Well, so the ARP grant expires officially September 30th, 2024. But again, just like with Carissa, we've established a June 30th, 2024 cutoff to encumber, spend money, because then we have to pay bills and get everything cleared out. And there's a lot of documentation. We have to document for the final report all the expenditures. It's a lot of work that the grant accounting department does. So we need time to do that, because they only gave us like 30 days to prepare the final report. But what you'll see in the budget book, the 23-24 budget book, there's a tab towards the back that's ARP, and in there is the budget of all what we're planning to do in 23-24. It's lengthy. There's a lot of detail in there. There's overall, and then there's at the back of that section, there's by school. So there's ARP money that's allocated out to schools, and then there's ARP money that is implemented for central-wide, district-wide programs.
So the cursor and the ARP is included in the budget?
Just the ARP.
Oh, just the ARP?
Yeah.
What
Because,
about the cursor?
well, because that money is going to be expended by this June 30th.
Okay,
So,
okay.
so this
But-
year,
Yeah.
so we have one, so that ends that money. We're going to expend it all in this year, and then 23-24 will be the last year for ARP.
So the entire 125 million is included in the 23-24 budget book?
Well, so this is as of March 31st, so we are spending ARP money right now.
Yeah,
So
okay.
we'll spend some between now and June 30th. So what you see in the budget book is for July 1st, 23 through June 30th, 24, which is about $100 million.
All right,
That's what that is.
thank you.
One quick thing, real quick. Our parent rep is here, and I just want to see si ella tiene preguntas. ¿Tú tienes preguntas de nada de esto, Dive? ¿Ahora no? Okay. Para mañana, okay. I just wanted to make sure and just double check with our parent rep to see if she had any questions on any of these reports. And then I just want to add this on the record again, and I'm going to keep repeating it until ARP is wrapped up. The Rochester City School District has a state-appointed monitor, and we are required to get the state approval on all ARP expenditures. Any plans have to go to the state monitor. The state monitor has to approve whether those funds can be, expended or not. And I just have to keep putting that on record, because unlike other school districts who did get to have their ARP and do their spending and not have these extra steps, we do have extra steps. And I do think that has unintended consequences of being slower to spend, because we've had a transition in superintendent who had a different plan and vision, and that still has to be thoroughly reviewed by our state monitor. And so it's not just a rubber stamp from the state either, so it's just an additional step. And I just have to continuously put that out there, because I get lots of folks who have inquiries around why we have all these ARP dollars left, but I'm like, there's a process for us that's different from other school districts. And so with that, can I get a motion to move forward the unaudited April 2023 and the quarterly change order reports for the first, second, and third quarter of 2023? So moved by President Elliott, seconded by Commissioner Simmons. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I get on y'all by telephone.
Thank you. Up next is the financial resolutions, previews, review. Oh, I'm sorry, Dr. Jallo, did you?
I believe Commissioner Powell was trying to express her vote.
Oh, I didn't even realize Commissioner Powell was online. I am so sorry.
Oh, that's, fine, thank you. I got stuck at work. Otherwise I'd have been there. Thank you.
Okay, did you have anything to add? Okay,
No, I'm casting my vote. Thank you.
thank you, Commissioner Powell. So up next, we are moving forward with the reviews for, like I said, the financial resolutions. These are previews. We will see these again from now until May. So it's just an opportunity to lay eyes on them and start asking questions now before the May board business meeting. And there may be some changes from here till then with added additional resolutions submitted. So I'll give everybody about a minute to review and see if you have any questions on any of these. The first set is operations and facilities. A lot of these are operations and facilities. But I do have one question on the air conditioning for Franklin. Is Franklin getting air conditioning for now to hold them over until they get their building fixed through modernization? It was on the report. So I'm assuming we're gonna see I know, that's my only question for you tonight, Mike. I just want to know if Franklin's going to get some AC or chillers.
Good evening, Vice
Good
President
evening.
LeBron. It would not be, the entire building will not be air conditioned, certainly with this request, but we do have a portion of the building that will be primarily office space and so forth, but not the entire classroom area. That's would be way too big of a project for us to do it in this short amount of time and this short amount of money.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank
Okay,
you.
You're very welcome.
Are there any questions around the May resolutions for 2023? Again, these are previews. We'll have another opportunity to lay eyes on them and submit questions at any time, but, okay.
Just a general kind of question. You know, we spend a lot of money on additional resolutions that, you know, historically, I have voted no on these resolutions. And so I'm hoping that what we are investing, there is a return, an academic return on the dollars that we are investing in additional pay. We spend a lot of money in additional pay, and I'd like to see a return. So at some point, I'm going to be asking about that. Thank you.
Thank you, President Elliott. Before we move to the budget discussions, I'm actually just going to ask for a motion for Resolution 2022-23-582, which is the Student Suspension Appeals Resolution.
So moved.
So moved by Commissioner Malloy, seconded by President Elliott. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's a nay for me on that one.
I'm a yes. Thank you.
And the nays have it. Thank you.
Are we doing the vote online?
Online voting is open. If you chose, online voting was opened, but I did capture the vote based on the verbal.
Okay, and last up for tonight, I did make a request from the budget deliberations, because this came up, and it just says budget discussion, but it's in reference to whether the board has a desire to direct the superintendent to re-add a position that has been cut from one of our departments, which is the General Auditor's Department. So it's my understanding that one position currently is SURSA funded, So it is a temporary funded position, and that position is phasing out because the funding is wrapping up. As our CFO said, we're kind of closing the books before June 30th to give staff time to close those books out and reports and so forth. But that leaves us with one vacant position. And I'll open the discussions and I'll give my opinion at the end, but I guess we can round robin. And Commissioner Powell, I don't know if you want to start it off because you're on the screen, and then I'll go around that way. Any comments or support for or against?
Okay, well, just from the standpoint of starting the conversation, I would state that it is always penny wise and pound foolish to shortchange our internal audit function. That's, besides the internal auditor being essentially our eyes and ears into the financial situation of the district on an ongoing basis, it's the audits that are intended to prevent financial disasters before they ever happen. And if we're shortchanging our department, then we're doing a disservice to the district. So that's just a starting point. Thank you.
Commissioner Adams?
So, for me, this is an issue that I've lost sleep over because of, I'm still very offended by some accusations that was made by the city council in reference to this audit thing. And so I'm almost feeling like we're being set up to fail, and I absolutely am not going to support failing. I still can't sleep about the nonsense about our auditor that we chose, an external auditor. So I definitely want to have support in all aspects so that we don't fail in that area. And I could really go further with this conversation, but I'm not going to go any further with it.
So I just want to point out for clarity, we're discussing our internal auditor and the staffing positions. Yes, whether you want to support.
And I'm fully aware of that, but I do believe that our internal audit supports the external audit.
Yes, our internal auditor supports our external auditors. And I just, for a point of clarification, the external auditors are the ones I look to around the financial health. I just have to put that on record. I personally have not gotten an internal auditor report that discusses the financial day in, day out from our internal auditor. Although there have been pieces I've directed the internal auditor to look into for us in the past. So the external auditors are the ones that do the financial audits. But this is whether you support the position that is potentially being proposed to cut, which is currently a vacant position. But again, there's a second position that's grant funded that will go away. And then there was a vacant position in the department.
So the answer is no, I don't support the position.
Your mic.
No, I don't support the position being cut.
Okay. Commissioner Malloy?
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Regarding this, because this is new information, relatively new for me. I'm trying to figure out how long has this position been vacant? Or how long have we been operating with this vacancy?
I think it's been about a year at least that the position has been vacant, at least a year.
And did we have a recommendation?
So when we went through the budget process, we first looked at where we could look to vacant positions that don't impact people, and ran a day's report. This current position as of February 28th, when we ran the report, was vacant for 958 days.
958 days? 3 years?
958 days, yes.
I would support not filling the position if we're able to operate under that efficiency.
Commissioner Simmons? Thank you, Commissioner Muller.
I will support.
Support keeping the, having the position cut or at, okay.
Yes.
President Elliott?
Yeah, no, I'm going to support that the position be restored. I think that part of the issue has been that we couldn't identify one that was qualified as the Auditor General wanted. And I support what Commissioner Powell says. There are, if we want to do our job, if we want to ensure that the auditing, the function of the Office of Auditor General is able to do its job, which is to, oversee and to investigate, various programs and finances in our district, we need to have that position. And so I would support it because of that. I would not want to continue to cripple her because there's still not a lot of work that can be done. It may, and I know that this is an issue throughout the district that, there are positions that we cannot hire, recruit for, and they've been vacant a long time. This one, though, I think has to be an exception because I think that, we have to have in that department a full staff in order to do its due diligence, ensuring that there's oversight in the district. So I would support restoring the position. Thank you.
Commissioner Patterson?
Yes, I also would support the position being restored for the following reasons. First of all, I'd like to state that or indicate that I've been pretty consistent with, central office and, our enrollment being declining, and that I would not support any positions in central office because of this decline in enrollment, constant or continued decline in enrollment. But chairing the audit committee, I see there's a definite need for checks and balances. So it's very important to me that I support this position and request that it be restored. Thank you.
So I saved my comments for last because, I'm going to support the will of the board, but I will caution my colleagues who are adding a position that next year when we are closing schools and shuffling families and staff around, and we have no idea what the future will look like when that transition, that we cannot expect to ask our school communities to make sacrifices, and that we sit up here on the dais and we ourselves don't make sacrifices through our departments. So adding a living, breathing human being back into a position or potentially filling it with someone who's going to be depending on this as their potential livelihood, we will have to cut someone from our staff next year. And me personally, I would prefer to rip the Band-Aid off now and make those cuts to vacant positions that do not hold a living person depending on this income to feed their family. And I have to say that because, again, next year we face a tumultuous budget process and deliberations, I'm sure. And I'm not knocking the work that happens out of the general auditors, but we also have other board staff that I would say we depend on more heavily. And we're going to be pinning our board staff against our board staff to save a position or to cut a position. Because come next year, we will have to make the same sacrifices that we're asking other schools in the entire district and other departments to make. If we ask them to take a 10% cut, we're going to have to make a 10% cut. And most likely that usually looks like a staff person in a position. So for me, I'm not supporting that the position be re-added. For those purposes, I want it on record that I forewarned folks, my colleagues in the community and that department as well, because I would much rather cut from that department than cut from our board clerks side of the house. And I just have to be honest about that, especially since we have Naraki who does all of our claims audit. So we have an entire department that we now outsourced to do that work, and we have external auditors to cover the financial piece. So just have to put that on record. Commissioner Malloy.
I just want to say, just to highlight everything that you've said, thank you so much. Hear, hear. We're going to be making some really difficult decisions next year, and this sounds like a position that is an easy cut. No position's easy. I'd love to know what is the recommendation of the people who are running that department as well. Can they survive without that position? It sounds like we've been doing the work for 958 days, right? Without that, it's like a no-brainer here. We shouldn't be adding positions. We have to start thinking about efficiencies. I can't take away jobs from people next year in good conscience when we have a position like this that doesn't necessarily need to be filled. But thank you.
Yes, Commissioner Adams?
So I just have to add to this conversation that there's a possibility is the fact that we're not offering the right wage. Because when I look at things going on in the district, that's also the reason why we're not getting SSOs. We're not offering the competitive wage. We should not even be competitive with anyone else around here because they don't have the issues that we have. None of these districts have the issues that our CSD and so our wage for SSO should be more welcoming and embracing. And it's the same thing. It's why positions don't get filled. People be wanting jobs. You think this community don't want jobs? They want jobs, but they just ain't accepting just anything. So I had to put that on the record. I'm done.
Yeah, but I just want to add, though, that this is a high-paid position. This is an administrative level position that requires both certifications and degrees. And so it is in a competitive salary range. There's just also a shortage of folks who are CPAs and auditors that want to come out into a school district setting when they could be doing it for a private organization, working for a business side of it that contracts out like an external auditor versus an internal one. But certainly agree, and I think the superintendent is going to be coming based on some of the recommendations that the unions have put out around security and safety. He's going to be discussing that on Thursday and bringing forth a resolution around some of the stuff you just brought up, Commissioner Adams, for Thursday. I know. I think we have. I think you have 4 commissioners through Adams, Powell's, President Elliott, and Patterson that are asking you to put it back. My other request, though. And so moving forward, I am trying to break the habit of we're getting to budget deliberations and we're adding a position back because the superintendent is going to have to identify another position to cut. And so I just have to put that out there. And I would like you to, once you figure that out, I would like to know what position is being cut and whether that is a position that directly works with students versus a position that's in central office and far removed from classrooms. Thank you. And with that, that concludes our Board Finance Committee of the Whole for April. There is a board meeting poll.
Just a second, Commissioner LeBron, does the board want to do a resolution to confirm the direction?
It would not. It's a budget direction, Adrian. So he then has to, we're in a draft form. The superintendent is going to have to put the position back in the budget and then present through the budget deliberations.
You want to see the draft, the new
Yeah,
draft first?
he has
Okay.
to adapt the draft and then distribute it to us because we are going to have to cut a position in order to add another position because we are down from dollar to dollar in the budget right now, balanced. If we added another position, it would make us imbalance. So we're going to have to find another position to cut. And hopefully we have another vacancy that we can cut. But I just want to add that a lot of our actual vacancies, especially in schools, are like for teaching especially, are positions that we have to keep in the budget. You know, we have 10 teacher shortages at Northeast, and I'm just throwing them out there because I know that they have some special ed shortages for teaching over there. They're still going to need 10 positions for special ed and teaching. So those are not positions we can easily remove because they still need to be filled on an ongoing basis. So just have to put that out there.
Hear, hear.
No, I said in the beginning, the Medicaid compliance report, we're not reporting that out. If commissioners want to review it and they have questions, they can submit them to the board question log. Thank you. With that, that concludes. Can I get a motion to close the meeting?
Motion.
Commissioner Simmons, motion by Commissioner Seconds. Can I get a second?
Second.
Seconded by President Elliott. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Have a good night, everybody.